Now we're going to try something a little different here at TEDxNapaValley, and we're hoping that the miracles of modern technology are going to allow us to bring in our next speaker literally from the other side of the world. So a little bit of background. Sandina and I were recently at TEDactive. TEDactive is the live stream version of the annual TED conference. And when we were there, we met a fascinating woman. Fabiola Barba Ponce is a Mexican who lives in Australia and is currently doing her PhD at Macquarie University in Sydney on the assimilation of immigrants into new societies. As we know, immigration is one of those topics that is huge here in our own community, so we wanted to get a bit of a perspective. We'll be doing a little Q&A session with Fabiola over the next few minutes, and it is our hope that we will have her here one day on our stage when her PhD has been published. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the TEDxNapaValley screen, Fabiola Barba Ponce. Hi, Fabi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, it's working.
I can see you. Don't be scared. I can see everyone.
Okay. So it's obviously good morning from you and good afternoon from us. So let's kick this off. It's great to have you here. I know we've worked really hard to set this up at our event. It's not too often that we get to talk with a Mexican who lives in Australia.
Yes, pretty much all of them are in the States, right?
Exactly, and we obviously have a huge Hispanic community here in our own community. So let's talk about some of your observations that you've seen through your work and your own experience being a Mexican who now lives in Australia, having migrated there, and tie that in with, with the fact that you have lots of family who have migrated to America.
Sure. Let's play an imagination game. So I'm going to invite all the audience to close your eyes.
Okay.
Have a deep breath.
So Fabi's asking everyone, please close your eyes. Take a deep breath and be patient. It'll take a few seconds to get through this. Okay, Fabi?
Okay, so now that you're closing your eyes, picture yourself alone, lying on the ground in the sidewalk, in just a random sidewalk that is very, very far away from your family, from your friends, from home. Then add to the picture lots of people, street noise, distressed voices. Even that they are not in your language, you can tell that there's distress in their voices. Then you're hit by an overwhelming state of confusion. Do not move, you heard. The ambulance is on its way. Tell me who you are, meanwhile. What is your name? Where is your accent from? You start thinking in your accent, and you think, am I going to be okay? How does things work in this country? The ambulance arrives. You are fully in pain and you are immobilized from your neck. You're taken to the hospital and the doctors start telling you all these weird medical terms and acronyms that you don't understand. CNS, CT scans, X-rays, SX, and you have no idea what this person is talking about. To make your confusion even worse, the police arrives and with no mercy takes blood samples from your immobilized body. So you think, I have better be clean. Officer, what did I do? Am I going to be okay? And I'm in trouble? Can I call my family, my friends, or at least someone that I know? The police leaves and someone with scrubs arrives and tells you, how are you going to cover this medical cost, man? And when they reach that point, you remember how far away are you from home. Now, open your eyes. So the person that you're seeing in that screen, it's me. After a couple shots of morphine, of course. That imaginary game that you just have, it's what I experienced in April 2013 in Sydney, Australia. That accident extended my 2-week vacation into a month recovery. But this month recovery was enough time for my supervisor to let me know that Macquarie University was going to give me scholarship so I could pursue my PhD. So I left Australia with lots of pain and broken bones, But 6 months later, I was back doing a PhD project that looks how Mexicans deal with different lives in this part of the world. But the importance of this story, it's to expose you to uncertainty, to experience what I experienced that time, that year. So to make it a little bit more clear, or a little bit to filter this, raise your hands for those that interact with immigrants,
So,
that in your daily life or in a daily basis or at least once a week. So if you can help me, Andrew, to tell me how many people is raising your hands.
so if you can raise your hands if you interact with migrants or immigrants in your daily life, weekly life. So yeah, I think it's fair to say, Fabi, that pretty much every hand in the house is in the air.
Okay, I have already counted the Mexicans, so don't worry for my fellow Mexicans. Okay, so, but how this story relates, like a story of an immigrant that is so far away in Australia relates to the Napa Valley. What I think that it relates is uncertainty. This uncomfortable situation, this uncomfortable sensation that not everybody likes, it's called uncertainty, and hopefully you could feel it with this exercise. So those that immigrate have the uncertainty of the future. They have no idea what is happening in their lives. Things that are completely natural for nationals are completely new for immigrants. For example, like how to rent a house, how to have a credit report. What is a credit report? Like, do I really have to cross the street like by the corner? And that's just to mention some. But let's talk about the nationals as well. The nationals that interact with us. Like take the paramedic or the police, for example. So who are we? Like what rituals do we have? What working behavior do we have? So like they don't even know where we from. So I have even heard comments like, oh, are you dating a Mexican? How exotic is that? As if I was a piña colada in the middle of Mars, just discovered by NASA. So all these preconceived ideas mixed together between the immigrant and the national make the scene a little bit more difficult because you don't know who the other is, whether it's the national or the immigrant. There's this uncertainty of the other. This is strange, the different. Or just like Professor Manuel Vasquez says, there's this dichotomy of the exotic or the toxic other. So as a side note, like a couple years ago, I was expected in Sydney to look like Jennifer Lopez, but when I arrived, I disappointed some because I just didn't look like Jenny from the blog. So back to this topic, these two actors of the immigration play, the immigrant and the national, both of them have the same sensation. Like it works really both ways. So yeah, as I just proved you, we every day socialize with immigrants. And yes, as the Mexican cliche, I have trillions of family members in the States, and it's not hard to know, mostly all of them are in South LA. But there was this time where I have family members living in Denver, in California, even in China when I was in Australia. And seriously, if my family was a business, we could be the most prolific and expanded franchise in the world, because we were everywhere. So if we think about, not only because my family is a highly migrant, but we all have been part of this immigrant group. We have all migrated, or at least we're going to migrate someday. We left our parents, we moved our jobs, we changed schools, we moved cities, we crossed neighborhood boundaries. So the majority of us have played these two roles. We have been the immigrant, and also we have been the national. So uncertainty, it's been there in these two sides, and we all know what it is.
Okay,
in either side.
So what you're saying then, Fabiola, is that this uncertainty, as you're calling it, it's a common ground for both sides, or for all of those that are involved in what you're calling the immigration play?
Yeah, absolutely. Uncertainty, it's in both sides. So, or at least it should be recognized as a language, that we both know, that we both understand. So like, when we move to another country, the easiest thing to do is to speak the language. Like, ¿dónde está el baño? Or is that taco spicy? Or if you move jobs, the handiest thing to do is to know the general way to communicate or to socialize with the other. So having this uncertainty in both sides, it's speaking the same language. And if you speak the same language, then you can interact more. So acknowledge uncertainty and acknowledge that is part of the immigration process for both sides, make these two strangers have something in common. So if you acknowledge that, you have space to clear the uncertainty for the other. So you can have a space for the other one to stop being the toxic or the exotic, because uncertainty, you recognize uncertainty as something that is present. So if you have this and you acknowledge it, then you can have exchange of knowledge, a connection between these two.
Okay, and so we're going to wrap it up with just one other quick question. So what can we learn from this uncertainty, as you put it, in both immigrants and nationals, both here in the Napa Valley and there in Australia?
Well, what I can say that is really important is that regardless of migration status, call it seasonal worker or log worker or immigrant that goes and stays there just for a couple days or a couple months, or because he's married to someone else, we're humans ultimately, and we like to socialize. We like to share with the other one. We like to interact. So if we're in this play as an immigrant or as a national, I think we should be thinking and constructing spaces where at least we can, first of all, listen who's the other one. What is the story? Like, what does this person need? But that doesn't mean that you have to provide. Like, don't be scared. Like, I'm not asking you to support the other one. Just listen. When you listen, the other one can make wonders, because you want to share as a human. So if you speak, or if you don't speak the language, just play or improvise, just like the previous speaker said. The other thing that I would suggest is to interact, regardless who this person is. Just interact. Because just humans find joy on that. So if you don't feel safe, like, you don't breathe in home, but at least show them the culture. It is always nice when someone opens the door for you. So it will be nicer if someone helps you. So you might find that gratitude, it's a value for the other one. You might be invited to a taco fest full of Coronas and party. I don't know. So, and lastly, I will invite you to get to know the other one. Like, what is the difference from you? Like, what are the values, the worries? And if you get to have this dialogue, you can have a win-win relationship where you learn from the other one. You learn from the national as well from the migrant. Do not wait for an accident to happen, like it happened to me, to be exposed to the uncertainty of the other. We have uncertainty and immigrants and host nationals in everyday lives. So embrace uncertainty. Start speaking the same language with the other. Like who would believe, like, an Irishman, an Italo-American, and a Mexican that met in Canada, and they spend time listening to each other, and then we make possible to be connected between Australia and Napa Valley. So just start listening to the other one. And I think this connection between this Irish and Italo-American and this Mexican, it's a little bit more melodic than many other Jennifer Lopez songs that I have heard, for sure.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair comment. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up here. It's been great to have you here. I want to thank our tech team for making this possible. So Fabiola, great to have you here. It is our desire one day to have Fabiola here on the stage when she has published her work and her doctorate has been conferred on her. So in the meantime, if any of the audience who are here would like to have a chat with Fabiola during our break, we will set up a Skype connection out in the foyer so that you're welcome to converse with her for some of the time during the break. And Fabi, I know it's 7:30 in the morning in Sydney, so I'm going to say we will see you shortly, but thank you very much for being part of TEDx Napa Valley.